Hello and welcome to More Than Footy, brought to you by Bingley. I'm Hayley Faulkner.
And I'm Tom Chadwick. Great to have your company. Hales, what a win on Sunday against the Cats.
Was it ever? It was incredible. The stadium was packed. It was rocking. It was rocking.
It was rocking. We predicted a huge crowd, but and it was, the second biggest home and away crowd in Swans history at the SCG, so it was absolutely pumping.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And now to Adelaide. Got a big game.
Now to Adelaide, they're always relatively tough at home, but Hallie, you mentioned rocking. We're blessed to have one of the biggest bands in Australasia.
How's the segue?
Yeah, correct.
Yes, very nice.
Matiu and Chris from 660 lads. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So nice to have you guys. Now, what do you think of the facility? You guys, this is your first tour of the facility, isn't it?
You guys are spoiled.
We are spoiled.
I honestly can't believe it.
It's mind-boggling, really. Beautiful facility.
I mean, you're taken aback just walking in the front door with that whole setup, seeing through into the field. But then we got the whole tour, and it really is amazing.
And we got to have a good kick around on the field.
Yeah,
actually.
I actually did see.
How did you go with the cheering?
Yeah, I'm not quite as good as I thought I'd be, to be honest. But we did okay. We got a couple of goals.
We did okay.
Well, speaking of the indoor field, our staff was just treated to a show from the boys on the indoor field, the first ever band to perform on the Swans indoor field, an original, plus a split ends classic in Icy Red. Let's have a listen in.
When you see me walking down the street, I see red, I see red, I see red. Like it's somewhere we can walk so free. I see red, I see red, I see red. Oh, I see red, I see red. I see red, yeah.
That was incredible. Round of applause. Yeah, come on. Everybody in here, round of applause, please. Thank you very much.
We've got a live studio audience.
Live studio audience. This podcast, live studio audience, this podcast is getting bigger by the week.
Yeah.
Boys, how was that?
It's great. Yeah, it was kind of hard to hear because it's just such a big field.
big.
But that was pretty special.
Yeah,
It is. The acoustics sounded actually very good. I thought it
Not
sounded
too bad at all.
No.
Yeah.
So tell us about the inspiration for the covers and the current tour and where songs like Icy Red come into your vocabulary.
So for those who don't know, we're on tour at the moment, and we've been doing this content thing where we'll ask locals to request a cover. We learn them quickly at sound check, and then we perform them on stage that night, sometimes 2 hours later, which is obviously really challenging, but fun too, because these are songs that we wouldn't necessarily pick for ourselves. So you actually learn quite a lot, and we knew that Split Ends Icy Red was a team song, for obvious reasons. So we learnt that one quickly. And that's...
I think it went very well, yeah.
Yeah, I think it went well.
I was blown away with the talent. But let's go back to the origins of the Swans. The band was actually formed in Dunedin, but I believe you were born in Sydney. That's where the love for the Swans come about.
Yeah, I was born in Gosford, and I always... I had a weird, so my granddad is from far north Queensland, so he obviously wasn't huge into the AFL, and all my friends at school...
Rugby league, I'm sure then.
Yeah, Union and League was big, and then I moved up to Darwin, and all my friends were League and Union, so I used to just watch AFL secretly. It was like a secret little shame, because it wasn't cool, and even though Darwin's a big footy town,
sure.
But so I used to watch and pretend to commentate and stuff, so I didn't really have anyone to talk about the AFL. So it's only been the last couple of years kind of reconnecting with the Swans and falling in love with the game again that it's become a bit of a passion. I'm kind of ruining family dinners and that kind of thing by having it on in the background and loving the footy at the moment.
And you've spread the love amongst the band. Everyone's getting amongst it.
Absolutely. I'm very green. So I think that was my second game on Sunday.
Yes.
And but it's easy to follow the enthusiasm, and we're a big sports fan band. We like to go as many games as possible. But I'm understanding the game.
It would be tricky to understand as someone who's just...
the first game, I'm like...
What am I watching here?
I don't know what's going on, but I'm kind of figuring it out. I'm kind of figuring out the positions, where those fights. I really love the middle. I was kind of understanding that at the game, and now I love Paps and Chad. So,
we're going to get to your favourite players. I must say I haven't seen someone rock a black suit with a Guernsey as well.
Very nice.
We hopped on. I said, I've not seen the suit and Guernsey.
It's good. I like it.
I like it.
Now, 660.
Yes.
You were in a share house together in Dunedin to start?
Yeah, in a
it's fascinating.
In a flat.
Tell us about how the name of the band.
Yeah, of course.
Came about.
So we started in Dunedin, which is in the South Island of New Zealand. None of us are from Dunedin, but we're down there for the university. But it's a college town.
Yep.
In our second year, moved into number 660 Castle Street. Castle Street is being like the kind of like the student ghetto of the area. Very infamous, very famous.
How
street.
old were you at this?
Oh, 19,
Or
Yeah, right.
20.
those walls
something
could
like
talk? Is that where? Yeah. Okay. Oh, we might get there. We might get there.
Yeah, and then we basically just started a band and started playing covers and all that kind of stuff. Got to the end of our time at Dunedin. Had just been playing covers for flat parties, 21st, all that kind of stuff. Had to go at writing some original material, and did that. Pumped it out in a week. Put it up on Facebook. Went home to get jobs and just start a life. And the music just took off. And so we're like, well, let's go do this instead of getting a job.
What did you actually study then? What were you studying?
I did law and music and just
Wow.
I think everyone was a bit different. Says like engineers, like
Yeah, right.
so music was definitely like not high on the priority list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But somehow we wrote music that really connected with the people of that. I mean, we were just reflective of what was happening in the city. People loved it. It travelled, and then now we're here sitting with you guys. So.
Yeah.
And fast forward.
Clearly a career highlight, I would assume.
Oh mate,
I'll
yeah.
be-
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
is top tier.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, walking around the facility earlier
very
is
cool.
probably my favorite thing
Very
I've ever done. I was like a little fangirl, kind of like walking around. I was like, oh my god, it's Armani.
And then obviously came in here and you were like, oh man, this is the pinnacle. This
Correct.
is-
So what has been a career highlight then? You go back to when the band was formed in 2008. Fast forward 16 years.
Oh,
you've played in front of 50,000 at Eden
got
Park,
so
I believe.
many- we've got
What was
so
that
many.
experience like?
Scary,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I can't even hardly remember that. To be honest, like it's such a blur. You get up there and it takes about 5 or 6 songs to kind of find your feet.
Yep.
And it was just a chaotic moment for the time at home. You know, coming out of COVID, it was the nation was kind of galvanizing, and we just happened to be, you know, the ones that were bringing everyone together. So there was a crazy run there. We were the first band to play Western Springs, which is the famous venue in New Zealand, and then we became the first to play Eden Park, the band ever. So that was awesome. That was pretty special.
And then selling out Horton Pavilion, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fans are really getting amongst it here too.
Absolutely.
That was a dream, especially growing up in Australia. Like,
Right, yeah.
you know, I'd watch, Silverchair and,
Yeah.
those kind of bands selling out Horton Pavilion. Like, oh man, that'd be so cool one day. And then we played there twice. I actually played in a Swans jersey, Guernsey, the first time we played there.
Actually, I actually know that because I'm pretty sure Benny, one of our content producers, pulled it up, and I was like, we've got to get him in.
Yeah.
Get him
That was great.
in. Yeah, it was awesome, wasn't it?
And the current tour? Was it
Very
grassroots?
cool
Grassroots
And,
tour.
and you're playing in, Gosford,
Yep.
Newcastle, Wollongong. What's the inspiration for taking your talents on the road?
We just felt a desire to get really close and connect with the fans and communities, and go to these places that wouldn't necessarily be on the run list for like your main centres. So it's been amazing to actually we're getting to know, or I'm getting to know Australia a lot better, and my love for it has grown. So that's really cool. So a lot of off days, and like spent a lot of time in Darwin of all places because it's from there.
It's fantastic.
And I always kind of like shunned away from that place, but it's actually got a charm to it. And places like Rockhampton,
Oh, yeah.
cool.
Cairns, are really
Yes,
really
north.
cool.
Yep.
The beating heart of
Yeah.
the country.
Overwhelmingly, people are coming up to us, and there's two things. They go, I can't believe you're here. Like, we can't believe we can see you in a place like this. And then the other question is, why are you here? So like, people are just as confused as you are, but it's been awesome just connecting with people in a
amazing,
different
yeah.
way.
Certainly be different to New Zealand, the Darwin and the Rockhampton compared to where you guys are from.
Plenty of
Or
4X.
where you're from.
Plenty
exactly.
of 4X.
4X?
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of great northern.
Oh, we actually have there are a lot
Yeah.
of similarities in spirit places in New Zealand. Like we have places like that.
Yeah, right.
And we played those places on the tour too. Obviously, before coming here, we'd done the whole run in New Zealand. And, we went to the sticks. We went to the sticks, the wops.
Yeah.
What was it? So you're giving back to country Australia, but tell us about, forgive me if I'm wrong, you purchased the flat or unit where you were formed, and you've now given back as scholarship program. Talk me through this.
Yeah. So we got a really cool opportunity to buy the house where the band all started, 660 Castle Street, and because it's a uni town, we we decided, it'd be a cool thing to create a scholarship. So we get 4 kids in there every year, and they get to live in there for free. They get access to the studios. We'll go and do a bit of mentoring when we've got time, and we're seeing some success already. We've been doing it 4 years. Yeah, and it's just really cool, nice way to give back to the town that started
Is that
it.
the house I saw on a boat? Is that literally?
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's not the house.
Because you were saying you get through your scholarship program. I'm like, that is a really small house. How are they all
It's an
fitting?
exact replica, though, of the house.
Right,
Yeah.
it's tiny.
Yeah.
Now, speaking bit of sport chat. What did you grow up watching, playing, etc.?
A lot of rugby, obviously.
Yep.
Basketball. Mum's big into netball, so we would always watch netball. Just kind of everything. Those are the main ones, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
a lot of boxing, actually. A lot of
boxing
fighting.
too. And AFL, how have you found the transition to falling in love with it? Is it a bit of it? Because obviously growing up with Union, it's completely different.
Completely different. I enjoy it a lot live. I think that's it was easier for me to understand.
I was going to say
isn't it?
AFL is just one of those sports.
Because
that watch
once
live.
I realised that the game's actually off the ball.
Yes.
Mostly, yeah. So that when I watch it live, I can kind of get that now.
You mentioned earlier some favourite players. Who and why? Because I'd love to
Well,
know.
this is basically going off my live experiences, and
that's
mainly after last Sunday. But it's Chad
Yes.
and Peps.
Yes.
Two of our most exciting players.
Very exciting.
And I think just as we showed up to the game, because we unfortunately missed the first quarter, we did. I mean, when we showed up, we did start winning.
Well, it
Yeah.
was
They didn't
luck
kick a
charms.
single goal before
good
we
luck
got there.
charms.
So you're obviously going to have to come to every single game.
We'll be there.
But just turn up from the start this time. So
Okay,
we don't get
okay.
6 goals
Yeah,
behind.
exactly.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
What about you, mate? What about you, Chris? Who as a Swans tragic? Who do you love?
Yeah, I mean, Chad Warner's having a blinder. Heaney is playing incredible. And I love Blakey. I love the Lizard. I love watching him work. He's got an incredible boot. And quite honestly, I think my wife likes Amadi a little bit too much. So if we get a little less field time for him, that'd be great.
We'll let John know.
No, he's a great pair of hands, and he's an awesome guy to watch as well.
Speaking of John, did you get to meet him? He's floating around here somewhere.
No, I can feel his aura though. You know when in Star Wars where they go, I can sense his presence. Yeah, I know he's around here
He's
somewhere.
a bit like a Darth Vader.
He's terrifying.
He is terrifying. Yeah.
Back to music. What's the end game for you boys? Have you got AFL Grand Final, halftime show, pre-game
yeah.
show?
I'd love
Here's
to
your
see
pitch.
that.
Just
that would
down
be
the barrel.
really-
Andrew Dillon, I know, is a massive fan of this podcast.
Clearly,
So
yeah.
Yeah, come on, Dills. Let's go.
That would be really cool.
What's the end game?
What, just of music in
Yeah,
general?
yeah.
Well, to speak of those grand final stuff, playing the greatest and Icy Red in that facility, and playing those songs, like the greatest was written for that
Yep.
scenario. Where we are sports fans and we wanted to write a sports anthem. So performing that song in front of the crowd at the
100,000.
stadium would be pretty.
Yeah, let's
pretty
play that
cool.
when we get the flag this year, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Keep a lid on it. Hey,
Oh, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. Yet.
the
but-
F word.
Yeah, but music, it's a funny one. I mean, your goals and drives kind of change all the time. I guess, just making the best music you possibly can make, and I do enjoy traveling and doing cool stuff like this. So
Yeah.
that's another kind of drive. Is like doing the coolest stuff possible.
And so what about conquering Europe or the States?
Yeah, I mean those are some big dragons to chase.
Yep.
You can really get lost in that pursuit too. So you got to kind of need to be careful. Usually, if you get the basic thing right and you make really great music, and you keep your focus small, then those dominoes can start to fall. But I mean, if you're focusing on that too much, that can really get in the way because it is about playing music, and it is a lot more simpler than we can make it out to be. Similar in sport that way. Like if you're obsessing over winning the championship and not on the small details that get you there.
1 week at a time?
100%.
One week at a time.
Cliches we love.
It is a lot similar to that. So
Well, let's say the Pinnacle is playing at the grand final this year that we are.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do
sign
it.
us up.
Yeah, that's
Hopefully,
it.
Andrew Dillon, make sure you're tuning in.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We've absolutely loved having you join us on the podcast. I'd say this is one of our biggest
Yeah, it's been
chats
great.
yet.
Yeah.
Don't tell John that. He was our first.
No, thank you, boys. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
It's
you so
awesome.
much.